Your mind is the control tower of your destiny. If the mind is broken, the future is delayed. But if the mind is strong, no prison, no past, no person can stop your rise. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest war in your life is not in your bank account, your relationships, or your job. The greatest war is in your mind. It is the invisible battlefield where dreams are either birthed or buried. If you want to change your life, you must first change your thinking. Mental strength is not about pretending to be okay when you're not. It's about mastering your inner world so your outer world doesn't control you. Guard the gates of your mind. Guard the gates of your mind like a soldier standing at the entrance of a royal palace. Because your mind is royalty. It is sacred ground, the birthplace of every breakthrough and every breakdown. And just like a home has doors and locks to keep intruders out, your mind needs boundaries. Not every voice deserves an audience. Not every thought deserves a seat at your table. Think about this. If someone walked into your home and started dumping garbage all over your living room, you'd kick them out, wouldn't you? But how many of us let people dump negativity, fear, gossip, and insecurity into our minds every single day? You scroll on social media for 5 minutes and suddenly you're feeling inadequate, anxious, or bitter. That's not just entertainment, it's access. And anything that has access to your mind has influence over your life. You are not just a body walking around. You are a mind in motion. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. What you allow in your mind will eventually grow roots in your behavior. If you constantly feed on failure, rejection, and fear, don't be surprised when you start living small, doubting your worth, or hesitating to take risks. Your mind becomes the mirror of what you permit to enter it. You must become the bouncer at the door of your thoughts. Start asking, does this thought empower me or paralyze me? Does this content feed my purpose or poison my peace? Some people aren't toxic in your life, they're toxic in your mind. You replay their words over and over, and every time you do, you're watering seeds of doubt they never had the right to plant. Mental strength starts when you start filtering what you listen to, who you confide in, and what you meditate on. Not all advice is wise counsel. Some advice is rooted in fear and jealousy and people's own limited perspective. If someone who never built anything dares to tell you a dream is too big, why do you believe them? Why are you allowing their fear to become your ceiling? Even music, even conversations, even jokes. They enter your mind and sit there shaping what you think is normal, what you think is possible, what you think you deserve. You think it's harmless, that late night song about heartbreak and giving up, or that harmless meme that makes fun of failure. No, it's subtle sabotage, because repetition is how beliefs are formed, and beliefs are what your life rises or falls on. Your mind has a front door and a back door. Be careful of thoughts that sneak in disguised as being realistic. Sometimes fear dresses up like wisdom. Sometimes giving up calls itself being practical. But deep down, you know when something is weakening you. You know when a thought is making you shrink instead of stretch. You must call it out. You must stand guard. Guard your gates, especially when you're tired. That's when the enemy of your mind slips in. Have you noticed how your thoughts spiral when you're emotionally drained? When you've had a long day and someone says one negative thing and suddenly you're doubting your entire existence. That's not you, that's an unguarded gate. Strength isn't just about being tough, it's about being disciplined with your focus. There are moments in life when silence is more powerful than speaking, when isolation is more productive than inclusion. Because sometimes to guard your mind, you have to unplug from the noise. Turn off the chaos, step away from conversations that drain you, not because you're weak, but because you value your inner world too much to keep letting people vandalize it with their chaos. You're not rude for protecting your peace. You're not arrogant for setting mental boundaries. You are wise, you are aware, and you are committed to your growth. Start replacing every negative thought with truth. Replace fear with possibility. Replace insecurity with identity. Replace comparison with confidence. In daily life, this looks like walking away from a gossip-filled lunchroom. This looks like turning off the news when it's feeding panic instead of informing purpose. This looks like choosing to listen to an uplifting podcast while you drive instead of soaking in another hour of music that glorifies defeat. It's in the small decisions, the daily disciplines, that mental strength is built. And don't forget, just because a thought shows up doesn't mean you have to accept it. You can have a thought and still reject it. You can feel fear and still act in courage. The thought may knock, but you don't have to open the door. Your life will always reflect the loudest voice in your mind. So make sure it's truth, make sure it's power, make sure it's purpose, because what lives in your mind will one day live in your life. Build mental muscles daily. Your mind is a muscle, and like any other muscle in the body, it will only grow stronger through daily discipline and intentional training. You can't wish for mental strength and expect it to appear like magic. You've got to build it. You've got to stretch it. You've got to challenge it every single day until it becomes a fortress that nothing can easily shake. Mental strength isn't something reserved for the elite or the gifted. It's built by ordinary people who choose to do extraordinary things with consistency. Every morning, life gives you two choices: Rise with excuses or rise with commitment. If you want to build mental muscles, you can't afford to let your emotions run the show. You've got to wake up when your body says 5 more minutes. You've got to push forward when your mind screams, I can't. You've got to show up on the days when nothing in you feels like showing up. That's where strength is built, not in the comfort, but in the resistance. Resistance is not your enemy, it's your training ground. Every struggle, every disappointment, every inconvenience is your gym. And the weight you feel, that's the pressure shaping your future. You don't build mental strength reading quotes all day. You build it by doing hard things when no one is watching. You build it by saying no to distractions, by setting boundaries, by choosing discipline over indulgence. Think of an athlete. No champion became great by working out when they felt like it. They built their strength through repetition, even on the days they were tired, unmotivated, or in pain. Your mind is no different. What you do daily becomes who you are permanently. Every time you choose to stay focused when your environment screams chaos, you grow. Every time you choose to stay calm when your emotions are flaring up, you grow. Every time you bounce back from a setback with greater clarity and courage, you grow. Let's be honest, life will not stop throwing punches. There will be days when your plans fall apart. There will be people who disappoint you. There will be opportunities that don't work out. But mental strength is the ability to hold your ground and not collapse under pressure. It's the power to say, this didn't go my way, but I'm not going to break. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to lose myself. You might bend, but you don't fold. That's what separates the strong from the fragile. Mental strength is built in the small choices, the decision to keep going, to keep believing, to keep speaking life, even when everything looks dark. When you feel fear creeping in and you still take that step. When you hear the doubt in your head, but you still show up, that's strength. That's you saying, I might not control everything, but I control how I respond. And in that response lies your power. You've got to start training your mind like it matters, because it does. Too many people are physically strong, but mentally fragile. They lift weights, but can't lift themselves out of anxiety. They run miles, but can't run from toxic thoughts. What's the point of a strong body with a weak mind? Your greatest battles will be fought in the realm of thought, not in the physical world. That's why building mental muscles daily is not optional. It's essential. Your peace, your purpose, your progress all depend on the strength of your mind. Look at your daily habits. What are you feeding your mind? Are you soaking in negativity, comparison, and self-doubt? Or are you intentionally planting seeds of power, faith, and clarity? Your mind reflects what you feed it. Garbage in, garbage out. Strength in, strength out. Every time you meditate, journal, reflect, or read something that challenges you to rise higher, you are lifting mental weights. Every time you choose silence over reaction, clarity over confusion, peace over panic, you're sculpting a stronger, sharper, more stable mind. And don't think building mental strength means you never feel weak. It doesn't mean you never cry, never fear, never feel lost. It means even in those moments, you don't quit. It means you honor your emotions, but don't become a slave to them. You sit with them, you breathe through them, and then you rise, even if you have to do it trembling. That's strength. That's power. That's transformation. Mental strength doesn't mean you dominate others. It means you dominate yourself. You control your impulses. You master your focus. You lead your emotions. You make decisions from vision, not pressure. You don't just react. You respond with wisdom. And that kind of strength, it's rare, it's powerful, it's magnetic. People feel it when you walk into the room, not because you're the loudest, but because you're the most grounded. Daily, life will test you. Someone will cut you off in traffic. Someone will talk behind your back. Someone will doubt your dream, and your response will either build your strength or weaken your edge. Will you let that moment control your energy? Or will you take control of your mind and stay aligned with who you are becoming? Because mental strength isn't about the big moments. It's about the small wins that happen behind the scenes. It's what you do when no one's clapping. It's who you are when no one's watching. That's where the champions are made, not on the stage, but in the daily grind. In the silent battles, in the lonely decisions, in the unseen efforts. Every day is leg day for your mind. Every challenge is a chance to grow. Every trial is an opportunity to rise. You are either training your mind to be stronger or giving it permission to remain weak. You choose, you decide, and the results will speak louder than anything else. So show up for your mental fitness with the same intensity you show up for your goals. Because without a strong mind, every dream becomes a burden. But with a trained, resilient, focused mind, no mountain is too high, no setback too deep, no goal too far. Detach emotion from every decision, detach emotion from every decision. Not because emotion is bad, but because emotion is unstable. Emotion is like the weather, it changes based on conditions. One moment it's sunny with joy, the next it's raining with fear, and by evening you're in a storm of doubt. But decision-making requires clarity, not chaos. You can't build a consistent life with inconsistent emotions running the show. Let's be honest, how many bad decisions have been made because of a temporary emotion? How many relationships were ruined because of one angry outburst? How many opportunities were missed because fear showed up louder than logic? How many dreams were delayed because of the feeling that I'm not ready? Feelings aren't facts. Emotions are indicators, not dictators. They tell you where you are, but they should never tell you where to go. A mentally strong person learns to pause, process, and then proceed. Just because something feels urgent doesn't mean it is. Just because you feel offended doesn't mean you need to respond. Just because you feel tired doesn't mean you quit. There's a powerful maturity that comes when you stop letting your feelings sit in the driver's seat of your life. Imagine a pilot who makes flight decisions based on fear. There's turbulence. I'm scared, let's turn around. No, that pilot trusts instruments, not emotions, because emotions lie. But data guides. In your life, you must build your own set of mental instruments, truths, values, priorities, principles, and let those steer your decisions, not the storm of emotion that may be screaming in the background. This doesn't mean you become emotionless. No, it means you become emotionally intelligent. It means you feel the emotion, but you don't let it take over the wheel. You feel fear, but you don't let it stop you. You feel anger, but you don't let it poison your words. You feel disappointment, but you don't let it define your next move. Let me give you an example from daily life. Say someone sends you a text that sounds disrespectful. Your initial emotion might be anger. Your hands are ready to fire back a message that will set everything on fire. But wait, a mentally strong person says, let me read that tomorrow, because sometimes clarity is on the other side of calm. And guess what? The next day, you may read the message and realize it wasn't as offensive as it felt. That's the power of separating your emotions from your decisions. Or think about a business opportunity. Fear tells you, what if I fail? What if I lose money? What if people laugh? And if you obey that voice, you'll play small forever. But a trade mind says, fear is present, but fear is not in charge. You evaluate the risk, assess the value, and move with strategy, not based on fear, but based on your future. Mentally strong people understand that emotion is temporary, but decisions have consequences. You can destroy 10 years of reputation in 10 seconds of rage. You can lose a good relationship in a moment of emotional immaturity. You can say something to your child out of stress, and it stays with them for life. That's why detachment is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the power to say, I feel this, but I don't need to act on it. Even in arguments, you'll notice something: the person who controls their emotions controls the room. The loudest person is not the strongest. The calmest person is, because calm is a superpower. Calm allows you to hear what's not being said. Calm gives you access to insight that emotion would block. Calm keeps your vision clear when others are reacting blindly. Practice this daily. Next time you're tempted to lash out, say nothing, take a walk, count to 30, drink water, pause. When you return, you'll realize that 90% of emotional reactions are just temporary flames, and you don't need to burn down the whole house over a matchstick. Even in your finances, emotion says, be it now, you deserve it. But a mentally trained person asks, does this align with my long-term goals? That's detachment. Emotion says, quit this job, I'm tired. But detachment says, I may be tired, but let me plan the next step wisely before I move. Emotion says, they don't like me, so I'm leaving. Detachment says, I'm not here to be liked, I'm here to grow. Do you see how powerful you become when your decisions are not slaves to your emotions? You walk in rooms and don't need approval. You face pressure and don't break. You have peace even in chaos, because your decisions are rooted in purpose, not impulse. This mindset takes training. It doesn't come overnight. But every time you choose principle over pressure, wisdom over reaction, purpose over feelings, you become stronger. Every time you pause instead of panic, breathe instead of blame, reflect instead of retaliate, you elevate, you rise, you win. Focus on purpose, not pressure. Focus on purpose, not pressure. Pressure is loud, but purpose is steady. Pressure screams, but purpose whispers with conviction. Pressure says, you have to. Purpose says, you were born for this. And if you don't know the difference, life will keep pulling you in every direction until you collapse under the weight of other people's expectations. But when you are anchored in purpose, no storm can move you. You might bend, but you won't break, because pressure is external, but purpose is internal. Pressure is momentary, but purpose is eternal. And if you allow pressure to drive your decisions, you'll end up successful in the wrong assignment. Think about it. How many people go to jobs they hate just to meet pressure? How many people marry someone they don't love because of family pressure? How many dreams have been buried under cultural pressure, social pressure, financial pressure, and yet purpose waits patiently in the corner saying, I'll be here when you're ready to be real. It takes mental strength to silence the noise and ask yourself, why am I doing this? When you live by pressure, your life becomes a race with no finish line. There's always more to prove. There's always someone else to impress. There's always a new standard set by someone who doesn't even know your name. You buy things you can't afford to look valuable to people you don't even like. That's the insanity of pressure. It makes you chase validation like a hamster on a wheel, exhausted but not evolving. But purpose brings peace. Purpose brings clarity. Purpose gives you the strength to say, no, I'm not doing that. Not because I'm scared, but because it's not aligned. That's a power move. That's a mentally strong mind. Pressure says, do it now or miss your chance. Purpose says, what's for you will never miss you. And if you believe that, you stop hustling for crumbs and start building your own table. Take a real life example. A student is studying law, not because they love it, but because their family said that's where the money is. So now they're buried in books, burnt out and bitter. That's pressure. But deep down, their heart beats for art or innovation or healing people. That voice didn't die. It was just drowned by the pressure to be accepted. But imagine if that student paused and asked, what's my purpose? Suddenly, the fog clears and clarity enters. That's the power of living from the inside out, not the outside in. Pressure often masquerades as urgency, but purpose moves with divine timing. You don't rush when you know why you're here. You don't panic when doors close because you know your purpose doesn't depend on public approval. You can walk away from things others would die for because you know what's yours. That's the kind of mental strength that can't be taught in classrooms. It's forged in moments of solitude, in battles with doubt, in seasons where nothing makes sense but your why keeps you alive. Even in business or leadership, pressure says, be like them. Do what's trending, chase the money. But purpose says, what problem were you born to solve? What pain are you equipped to heal? What legacy are you building? You don't build a skyscraper with weak foundations. That's what builds fast but shallow. Purpose builds deep before it goes high, and that takes time. It's not glamorous, but it's sustainable. It's real. Think of someone in the gym. Pressure says, lift more, now go harder, prove them wrong. But purpose says, build strong, build well. Don't just look good, be strong. The ones who chase pressure burn out. The ones who move with purpose keep showing up even when nobody's watching because it's not about applause, it's about alignment. And here's the truth, pressure will always be louder. It will come from your boss, your culture, your peers, even your own fears. But purpose is quiet. It doesn't shout, it nudges. It shows up in the quiet hours when no one is clapping. It speaks when you're alone and asks you, is this really you? Is this really what you want? Or are you just performing? You must learn to recognize the voice of pressure and separate it from the voice of purpose. One will lead you to burnout, the other to brilliance. One drains, the other sustains. Pressure is always urgent. Purpose is always authentic. And when you know the difference, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't even know your journey. You stop comparing your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20. You don't need everyone to understand your purpose. It wasn't a conference call, it was a private download. So stop looking for public permission to do something that was only meant for you. That's what mentally strong people do. They stop living for reaction and start living from revelation. They don't fold under pressure because their purpose is stronger than people's opinions. When your life becomes a reflection of your inner calling, not external coercion, that's when you walk in power. That's when you wake up with fire. That's when no can stop you and no applause can control you. Because you're not here to impress, you're here to impact. You're not here to prove, you're here to fulfill. Clean out mental clutter, because your mind is not a storage unit, it's a control center. What's crowding your control center? What's filling your thoughts when no one is watching? What toxic memories, unresolved arguments, imaginary scenarios, fears of the future, regrets of the past, self-doubt, replayed conversations are draining your energy every single day? Mental clutter is the silent killer of dreams. You can be gifted, anointed, and intelligent, but if your mind is cluttered, your progress will always be delayed. Clarity produces momentum, but clutter creates confusion, and confused people don't move. They hesitate, they procrastinate, they second guess. Look at your phone. If too many apps are running at the same time, what happens? It slows down, it freezes, it overheats, the battery drains faster. Why? Because it's over-processing. That's exactly what's happening to your mind. You're trying to move forward, but too many mental tabs are open. You're thinking about what they said 3 months ago, what could go wrong tomorrow, what you should have done last year, and now you're stuck, not because you're not capable, but because you're overloaded. Mental clutter is subtle. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers, you're not enough. Sometimes it shows up as anxiety without a cause. Sometimes it looks like snapping at people you love for no reason. It hides in overthinking, perfectionism, people-pleasing, and chronic exhaustion. You feel tired, but it's not your body, it's your mind carrying too much. Carrying opinions that don't matter, carrying expectations you never agreed to, carrying shame for things that are over, carrying weight that was never yours to bear. You need to do a mental audit. What thoughts are serving your vision and what thoughts are sabotaging it, what beliefs are building you, and what beliefs are breaking you. You can't rise with a mind full of rubble. You can't dream clearly when your mental space is filled with noise. Just like your house needs decluttering, your mind needs it even more. You make time to clean your clothes, your car, your kitchen, but when was the last time you cleaned your thinking? A mentally strong person learns to delete what's unnecessary. Not every thought deserves a seat at your table. Just because it enters your mind doesn't mean it deserves your focus. You must learn to filter your thoughts like gold. Test them, weigh them, examine them. Is this thought empowering me or draining me? Is this belief helping me grow or keeping me small? If it's not aligned with your vision, release it. Don't argue with it. Don't entertain it. Don't nurse it. Let it go. Think about a student trying to prepare for an exam while music is blasting, people are talking, and the room is a mess. Even if that student is brilliant, the environment won't allow excellence. That's what mental clutter does. It creates mental noise so loud that you can't hear your own wisdom. Your mind can't breathe. Your purpose can't speak. Your confidence can't rise. Every distraction, every lie, every unprocessed pain becomes another item on the shelf of your mental closet. And some of you are tripping over things that happened 10 years ago, carrying labels that were never yours. Someone told you once that you're not smart, and you've been repeating that lie in your mind for a decade. Someone abandoned you, and now you expect abandonment in every relationship. One failure, and now you think you're cursed. That's not truth, that's clutter. And clutter must be confronted. You clear it by being intentional. Every morning, decide what thoughts deserve your attention. Journal. Meditate. Speak truth to yourself. Protect your peace like it's your bank account, because it is. Peace is the currency of clarity. Guard your mind like a vault. Don't let just anything in. You don't need to think every thought that pops up. You don't need to replay every hurt. You don't need to entertain every fear. You wouldn't let someone walk into your home and dump garbage all over your floor. So why do you allow people, situations, and internal lies to dump trash in your mind? This is your mental space. Clean it. Protect it, speak over it, heal it. Your focus is too precious. Your energy is too valuable. Your future is too important to be lost in a swamp of clutter. Mental strength is not just about enduring pain. It's about managing focus. And focus needs space. If your mind is filled with yesterday, it cannot imagine tomorrow. If your mind is filled with guilt, it cannot create with power. If your mind is filled with other people's noise, it cannot hear your own direction. Even in relationships, mental clutter makes you react to your partner like they're your past. You're arguing with someone new using the language of old wounds. That's not fair. That's not healthy. That's clutter, and you have to own it to overcome it. Take responsibility for your internal world. No one else can clean it for you. No one else knows what's inside but you. Make room for growth. Make room for vision. Make room for peace. Because until your mind is clear, your life will always be fogged. Clean minds make bold moves. Clean minds build real confidence. Clean minds hear clearly, move strategically, and rise consistently. Don't underestimate the power of a decluttered mind. It's not just refreshing, it's revolutionary. You begin to feel lighter. You begin to respond better. You begin to live instead of just surviving. That's the real gift of mental strength. It frees you. It liberates your mind from the prison of noise, distraction, and self-sabotage, and it empowers you to rise every day with vision, with peace, with power. Stand tall when you feel small. Stand tall when you feel small, because your stature is not measured by height. It is measured by how you handle hardship. Life has a way of shrinking you. People will ignore you, underestimate you, disrespect you, and make you question your value. Circumstances will come crashing in to break your spirit. But in that moment, when everything around you says, stay down, your ability to rise is your power. That moment is your battlefield. That's where mental strength is forged, not when you feel strong, but when you feel small and still choose to show up like a giant. You may not have the loudest voice in the room, but you better believe your presence carries weight. You may not have the titles or the degrees, but don't let that fool you. You have insight, you have instincts, and you have resilience that textbooks can't teach. There are people with more resources but less resolve. There are people with more applause but less purpose. What makes you powerful is not what you have, it's what you've survived and still stayed pure. You kept your heart clean. You kept your faith intact. You didn't let pain turn you into a copy of what hurt you. Sometimes feeling small is the result of comparison. You scroll through social media and see everyone winning, everyone glowing, everyone arriving, and you're still in the middle of your process. It can make you feel like your life is on pause while everyone else is playing. But listen, don't measure your worth by someone else's highlight reel. You don't know what battles they're fighting behind the scenes. What you see is the fruit, but what you don't see is the root, the pain, the discipline, the tears, the years. So stop disqualifying yourself from greatness because your journey looks different. Flowers don't bloom all at once, yet every single one is beautiful in its own time. Stand tall when you're overlooked. At the job where they keep promoting people who do less but talk more. At the table where your ideas are borrowed but your name is forgotten. In the family where your sacrifices are invisible, it's tempting to shrink, to start believing the lie that maybe you're not good enough. But let me tell you, value doesn't disappear because it goes unnoticed. Gold doesn't stop being gold just because it's buried underground. And purpose doesn't stop being powerful just because people haven't seen the full version of you yet. Even in relationships, it's possible to feel small when you give your all and get half in return, when your loyalty is repaid with betrayal, when your presence is taken for granted. But your worth is not up for debate. Whether they see it or not, you must stand tall. Don't let someone else's blindness become your insecurity. Don't let their silence become your script. You are not defined by their ability to recognize your greatness. You are defined by your ability to keep showing love, keep holding standards, and keep walking with dignity even when it hurts. You've got to understand that strength doesn't always look like domination. Sometimes it looks like quiet endurance. Sometimes it looks like holding back tears in a meeting and still delivering excellence. Sometimes it looks like walking away from toxicity even when your heart is still bleeding. Sometimes it's choosing not to clap back, not because you're weak, but because you've outgrown childish battles. That's real maturity. That's real mental muscle. Think of the bamboo tree. For 5 years, it doesn't break the surface. But underneath, it's building a complex root system. People might pass by and say, there's nothing there. But in the 5th year, it grows up to 90 feet in just a few weeks. That's how some of you are right now. You're in the invisible years. You're building roots, character, discipline, patience, vision. Don't curse the season of obscurity. That's where your foundation is being built. Because when you rise, it won't be hype, it'll be real. When you feel small, your posture matters more than your position. You might not be at the top yet, but carry yourself like you belong. Walk with authority, not arrogance. Speak with clarity, not desperation. Move with confidence, not comparison. People treat you based on how you carry yourself. If you walk in like you expect to be overlooked, you will be. But if you walk in like you know who you are, even if they don't applaud you, they'll sense your weight. Your energy introduces you before your resume ever does. Daily life gives you opportunities to stand tall. When you're in traffic and tempted to lose your patience, stand tall. When your bank account says struggle, but you still give generously, stand tall. When your child looks up at you with questions you don't have answers to, but you still show up with love, stand tall. These are the hidden victories that build inner fortitude. These are the battles that build champions long before the crowd ever sees a trophy. Mental strength is not the absence of vulnerability. It is the decision to still rise, still believe, still act, even when you feel exposed. You don't need everything to be perfect to make progress. You just need to refuse to stay small when life tries to shrink you. Because greatness isn't about how you feel. It's about what you choose in the face of fear, what you choose in the shadow of rejection, what you choose when your hands are shaking, but your soul says, go anyway. That is the power of standing tall when everything around you says, stay low. That is how leaders are born. That is how legacies begin. That is how mental strength is built, one choice at a time, one day at a time, when you refuse to let your current size limit your future scale. Develop an unshakable identity. Your identity is the foundation of your life. When you don't know who you are, the world will try to tell you who to be. People will give you labels based on your failures, your background, your income, your appearance, your mistakes. And if you don't develop an unshakable identity, you will start living under names that were never yours. You will answer to limitations that were never meant for you. Life is loud with opinions. Everyone has something to say about who you are. But when you know yourself, really know yourself, nothing outside of you can redefine you. That's what separates the mentally strong from the mentally fragile. Strength begins with identity. You cannot build a future on a shaky sense of self. You will sabotage opportunities because you won't feel worthy. You will stay in toxic relationships because you think that's all you deserve. You will silence your own voice because you believe others know better. But when you know who you are, you stop living for approval. You stop needing applause to feel valid. You stop shrinking your light to make others comfortable. You stop apologizing for being powerful. Think about it. When you don't have a strong identity, every setback feels personal. A job rejection doesn't just hurt, it crushes you. A failed business isn't just a loss, it becomes your label. A breakup doesn't just end a relationship, it attacks your self-worth. But when your identity is secure, you can walk away without collapsing. You can start again without shame. You can stand in rooms where you're not the most talented, not the most attractive, not the most connected, and still feel enough. In daily life, people lose their identity trying to impress others. A woman dresses for the comments. A man spends for the clout. A teenager posts for the likes. And slowly, without noticing, you become a version of yourself that is curated, not authentic. But let me tell you this, when you sell your authenticity for acceptance, you pay with your peace. When you trade your truth for validation, you sacrifice your freedom. Nothing is more exhausting than living a life that isn't truly yours. Having an unshakable identity means you're not moved by trends. The world may change, fashion may change, language may change, values may change, but your core doesn't shift. You're not following every wave, you're anchored. You're not adjusting your standards based on who's watching. You're not confused when others walk away because you weren't performing for them in the first place. That's power. That's strength. That's where dignity lives. You've got to look in the mirror and see more than flaws, see more than pain, see more than the things you've been through, see potential, see resilience, see the seed of greatness even if life has buried it under trauma and shame. Your identity is not your past. It is not your pain. It is not your parents' mistakes or your worst day. Your identity is the person you choose to be every time life gives you the chance to settle and you say, no, I was made for more. There are people who will try to define you by one moment, one failure, one rumor, one version of you that you've already outgrown. Don't give them that power. You've evolved, you've healed, you've matured, you've learned. You're not who you used to be, and you don't owe anyone an explanation for your transformation. Just because they knew the old you doesn't mean they have the right to narrate your new chapter. You've got to stop waiting for someone to approve your worth. It's already stamped in you. Every time you doubt yourself, you rob the world of your impact. Every time you compare yourself, you delay your destiny. You are not a copy. You are not a discount version of someone else. You are a one-of-a-kind original. And the most dangerous thing you can ever do is forget that. Look at nature. No two trees are exactly alike. No two stars shine in the same pattern. And yet everything fulfills its purpose by simply being what it was designed to be. The oak doesn't try to be the willow. The eagle doesn't envy the lion. They just operate in their identity. That's what you must do. Your power is not in trying to become someone else. Your power is in fully becoming yourself. Even in conversations, your identity speaks. You can tell when someone knows who they are. Their voice doesn't shake when they speak truth. Their decisions are not easily swayed. They walk into the room, not trying to impress, but to contribute. They don't need to dominate the room because their presence already communicates value. That's what it looks like when your identity is rooted. Life will test your identity. There will be seasons of rejection, loneliness, silence, failure. And in those moments, the enemy isn't outside, it's internal confusion. But if your mind is trained to remember who you are, you will not fall apart. You might cry, but you won't quit. You might bend, but you won't break. You might feel lost, but you won't be empty. So train your mind. Remind yourself daily. Write it down. Speak it aloud, breathe it in. I am enough. I am worthy. I am built for this. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. When your inner voice is louder than the noise around you, you become unstoppable. When your self-identity is forged in truth, not trauma, you walk into every day already full. You don't chase peace. You bring it. You don't beg for love. You become it. You don't wait for opportunities. You prepare for them. You owe it to your future to be clear about your identity. You owe it to your family, your purpose, your legacy to never forget who you are. Because the world doesn't need more copies. It needs the real you. Bold, clear, unshakable. The greatest war you'll ever fight is not in the boardroom, not in your finances, not even in your relationships. It's in your mind. And if you win that war, you can win anywhere. Because once your mind is unshakable, your life becomes unstoppable. You see, no weapon formed against you can prosper when the most powerful weapon is formed within you. Mental strength is not just a tool, it's a throne. And once you sit on that throne, chaos may roar, storms may come, but you don't bow, you rise. Every single day, life whispers one question: how bad do you want it? And your answer is not in your words, it's in your consistency. It's in the way you wake up and show up when everything inside you says, lay back down. It's in the way you don't allow fear to become your final language. Fear might visit you, but it doesn't own your house. You speak the language of victory, the language of power, the language of those who do not quit. People might call you stubborn. They might call you too serious. Let them talk. Because while they're talking, you're building. While they're laughing, you're planting. While they're doubting, you're growing. You want to know what makes champions different? It's not their talent, it's their tenacity. It's the fire inside that says, I don't care how many times I fall, I'm getting back up with more fire, more focus, more fuel. Because every time life tries to break you, it's really offering you an invitation to become bulletproof. Life throws bricks, build a fortress. Life sends storms, become the storm. You are not made to shrink in pressure. You are made to rise above it. Diamonds are formed in pressure. Steel is forged in fire. And your mind, your destiny, is being shaped in the moments that test you the most. Stop negotiating with your excuses. Stop having conversations with your limitations. You weren't born to be average. You weren't created to settle. You are carrying too much greatness to play small. The same energy it takes to worry is the energy it takes to believe. So shift the energy, replace doubt with vision, replace panic with purpose, replace excuses with execution. Because nothing changes until you do, and nothing grows until you stretch. This is not the season to play it safe. This is not the season to hide. This is your season to break limits, break patterns, and break through. You don't need a perfect past to step into a powerful future. You just need a renewed mind. You need that unshakable belief that says, I've been through too much to give up now. Every scar you carry is a page in your victory story. Every delay was a divine setup for elevation. Every no was just fuel for your eyes. And now the time has come not to wait, but to wage war on everything that ever told you to play small. The battlefield is not out there, it's between your ears. Conquer it. Speak life. Even when it feels like death surrounds you, declare strength when your knees are shaking. Say, I will rise when everything around you says, stay down. You were never meant to break. You were meant to bend, to stretch, and then snap back with supernatural force. Because the comeback is always stronger than the setback. And the greatest force in the world is a mind that refuses to be defeated. Let the world doubt you. Let them misunderstand you. Let them walk away. You keep walking forward. Because the ones who change the world are not the ones who fit in. They are the ones who rise above. They are the ones who look impossible in the face and say, watch me. They are the ones who take pain and turn it into purpose. They take heartbreak and turn it into hunger. They take failure and turn it into fire. And that can be you. So when the world says, give up, you say, watch me grind. When your mind whispers, you can't, you shout back, I already did. When the path is dark, be your own light. When you feel fear, walk forward anyway, because courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to walk through it, eyes wide open, fists clenched, faith unshaken. Don't just chase dreams, hunt them down with intention. Don't just speak about purpose, walk in it like it's your birthright, because it is. You were born to be great, to lead, to stand tall in rooms that once intimidated you. And now your mind is your greatest asset. Train it, guard it, empower it. Because when your mind becomes strong, your life follows. That is how legacies are built. That is how empires rise. That is how history is changed, not by chance, but by choice. The choice to be mentally unbreakable. The choice to be unshakably strong. The choice to rise.